Emma. So first off, I want to start by welcoming everyone and thanking everyone for taking their time out of their busy day to join Mapp Digital and the American Marketing Association to learn more about a new three-letter acronym that has been getting a lot of popularity as of late, which is, of course, the CDP, the Customer Data Platform. And my goal today is to help you understand what brought about the development of customer data platforms, what their position is in the marketplace, what kind of programs you can enable when using one, and then talk through some success stories that Mapp has had with some of our customers in the past. And so I really do thank everyone for joining today. I know that as marketers, the job is more challenging than ever. The advent of marketing technology was in part supposed to help marketers to be able to do their jobs more quickly and more simply. And what it has also encouraged is the desire from any of our customers to really have that marketing experience be uniform and holistic and really understanding that customer along every point in the journey. And so that means as marketers, we have to be on at the same times that our customers are on. And they can engage with us at any time across any channel. So we need to know what that next best communication is going to be for them, where they're most likely going to engage with us to be able to bring them the best customer experience that we can. So to start off, I want to give you just a little background information about Mapp Digital. Mapp Digital, we're a little bit over 2 years old now, but as a company, we are the world's largest independent digital marketing technology. And we really pride ourselves in that independence because that has allowed us to adapt and be flexible to be able to respond to the needs of any of our clients. And on this team, we have 17 plus years of digital marketing experience. We have a vast array of backgrounds in our company that really leads to some digital marketing expertise. And that also leads us to have 3,000 plus customers worldwide that are sending a cumulative 120 million messages each day. So we're really talking about a lot of volume here with Mapp. And we've been flexible to be able to grow and change with the market. So as I go through the conversation today, you'll be able to get some examples of how we're doing that. Now, some of our customers here, you'll see that we work with some international, multinational brands. One in particular that I'll be calling out today in a case study is Unilever. But this is just here to give you an example of some of our customers. We work very heavily in the CPG industry, along with retail and e-commerce customers. The first question I want to ask you is, does your customer data look like this, where you have your customer who's interacting with you across many channels, and there's just data everywhere? So a recent IBM study found, and this was back in 2017, that 2.5 quintillion bytes of data are generated daily. Now, we weren't even talking about quintillions of data even 10, 15 years ago. So that number is absolutely astounding. And what's even more surprising is how much of this data is actually just lost and left behind. And that's a little bit of what this slide is supposed to represent, in that you have all of these distinct places in which your customer might be interacting with you. They might be coming on to your online store, interacting with you on social media. They might be on your mobile app. And all of these are different touch points where your customer is giving you different information. Maybe they're filling out a survey online, or they're purchasing a product. And in some scenarios, there are companies that aren't capturing this data, and that data is simply being lost. So take, for example, a mobile app where you have a customer navigating through pages. Capturing that data and understanding what a user is interested in or what they might be looking at can be very valuable for a company to personalize the customer experience. But oftentimes, that type of information is just left behind. And the other pain point is that sometimes the data is just captured and trapped in the system that it was captured in. And so that brought about the first phase of the development of what would eventually lead to a customer data platform. And that first phase is customer data silos. And that's where you have all of this data being collected by your independent tools, and the data is being used there. And as marketers, we're able to take that data, maybe segment on it, and implement solutions there. Take, for example, a website. So you have users who are coming to the website, and you might be implementing an A/B testing tool. And so you are using that user's experience on the site to determine what information you're going to serve up next. Maybe you're going to change the main image on the landing page of your home page, or serve up product recommendations across the bottom of the page. Those are all very fun and well actions to take to personalize that customer journey, but if they're not influencing the other channels, it can make that customer journey very fragmented. Maybe those changes are being made on the website, but when the user's in the mobile app, they don't get that same experience. Or when they receive an email later that day, it's disjointed from what they had seen on the website. So the development of all of these marketing technologies originally happened in these very distinct channels and silos where that information really did not interact with any other data. And in a recent survey that was done by Adestra and Ascend2, 47% of respondents said that data management and marketing technologies were some of the most difficult digital marketing tactics. And one of the big pain points there was these data silos. They have all this data that's being collected, but it's not being shared across the marketing team. So that's one of the big pains, is that you might have the social media team that's running their social posts, they're doing advertising there, and they're using those social platforms' native tools to come up with their segments to be able to target. Or you might have your email marketer who is running off of snapshots of CRM data, and they're taking that and they're using it to develop that the next campaign group that they're going to send a message to. And those teams aren't working together unless maybe they have some sort of marketing calendar that helps them to align their programs. But it's all a very manual process to do that. And so an eMarketer survey last year found that nearly 50% of tech developers, marketers, advertisers, publishers, and marketing service providers said that dissolving data silos would derive great value for their company in their future, and that they were looking to invest in dissolving those data silos over the next few years. So 50% of our marketers are still in this point where they are trapped with these data silos. And that brings about the next phase, the next evolution that would eventually lead to a customer data platform. And that's lakes, warehouses, and marketing clouds. So data lakes, data warehouses, and marketing clouds are all built and designed to be solving for specific solutions, and are trying to create greater access and greater availability for any of the data that you're collecting about your consumers. So a data lake, the idea there is really to allow any data into the data lake in its native form so that you're able to do any sort of segmentation on it and try to gain insights. One of the big failures there is that it really requires a lot of IT work to be able to organize that data effectively and also to unify that into a customer view. You can't get to a customer view with a data lake because it's in the native format. So with the rise of big data and the ability to process using Hadoop, data lakes were able to come into the picture, but they haven't been able to solve for much yet. So you'll find even today that data lakes are still around and still have a very solid use case, but we're seeing CDPs where they're actually ingesting data from data lakes. So they end up becoming an input to a customer data platform. Next, we have data warehouses. And data warehouses are great in that they are designed to create master records. They require heavy normalization of the data so that you can get a more complete customer view. But the problem with them is that it's very difficult to manage. You are going to have a database team that is managing that data warehouse. And as a marketer, if you would like to access a new piece of data, you're going to have to go out to that database management team, and you're going to be asking them to make a change to the data warehouse, or maybe how it's exporting data, when you're getting that data extracted. And it can be a very cumbersome process. And I would say that that's one of the number one pain points of a data warehouse, is that it's inconsistent in how it's, or when and how, and the timeliness of distributing that data. So that's why I have that number one there for the downsides of a data warehouse. You're often getting a snapshot of that customer view, whether that be daily or weekly, and you're really behind the 8 ball in terms of where marketing can be in 2018. One of the other big things here is that there is a very severe lack of data flexibility, and that too is going to require lots of IT skills to be able to work within a data warehouse. Last up, we have marketing clouds, and I'm speaking to these in the traditional sense of a marketing cloud, and they really lack behavioral data and are not well connected to other tools, and are simply limited to the channels that are built and native to that marketing cloud. So they don't have very good connectivity to other tools, and they do a very good job of building out a known customer view, but that lack of behavioral data keeps you from understanding that unknown customer. Maybe that customer who is interacting with you on a mobile application, or coming to you on your website. So those are some of the shortcomings of a marketing cloud. So understanding phases 1 and phases 2, where the goal has always been to get a more holistic view of our customer, to be able to take that data and execute on it more simply. We have the development of the customer data platform. That's really what comes next. And a customer data platform is designed to allow you to consolidate and integrate your customer data into one platform. The CDP Institute has long been one of the premier voices on what constitutes a customer data platform, and they speak of 3 main characteristics that you're going to require from a customer data platform. The first is that it's marketer managed. As we saw on the last slide, a lot of the pain points with the solutions that were in place already is that a marketer really was limited in their ability, in that they were always asking someone else or relying on another team to be able to execute on any of the programs that they wanted to perform. So the CDP Institute, the first thing that they call out is that a customer data platform must be marketer managed. Now, I will throw in a caveat there that it does not mean that the IT team is being taken out of the conversation here. There's definitely still the requirement that a marketer, when building out their customer data platform or in thinking about adding any new data to their CDP, they really have to think about the current data management practices that are in place at the company. And there will be times where the IT team is required to help with the integration of that data. So whether it be coming from an ingrown tool that's coming from the company itself that their IT team has developed, they're going to need, lean on the IT team to be able to ingest that data within the CDP. Or the IT team might be managing that data warehouse that is also going to be providing data to the CDP. So we're not abandoning the IT department in giving the marketers the ability to manage a CDP. But we are moving towards a position where the marketing department can execute and work with their data on their own. So the next item that the CDP Institute calls out is that it requires a persistent and unified customer database. So this is really looking at gaining that 360-degree view of the customer. So in the middle of this slide, you'll see the 5 items that we here at Mapp are calling out as the requirements of a customer data platform. And providing a 360-degree view of the customer is the first one for us. And the reason is because it's all about enabling that customer experience and trying to get the marketing programs to a point where the customers are having that same experience regardless of when or what channel that customer is coming to you in. So that then that marketing program is aligned throughout, which creates the greatest level of personalization and will hopefully lead to the best results in terms of that customer engagement. The last item that the CDP Institute calls out is access to other systems. So being able to take that data, take the insights, the segmentations that you've created within your customer data platform, and to be able to use that across an array of tools within your digital marketing stack. So that access to other systems is very important as well. Instead of calling it out as access to other systems in our list here, we actually look at it as allowing customers to execute on their data. And we find this to be very important, that the customer data platform should have native capabilities to be able to take that data and that information that you have learned about your customer and then go out and use that data within the same tool to be able to create these marketing campaigns. So not only is that customer data platform going to give you the insight, give you who that segment is, what that next best communication is going to be, but it's also going to allow you to execute on that communication. So the last one we have here is enabling marketers with the capability to predict the optimum next move with a customer. So what that is going to mean is that you need to have all of your marketing communications in one place. So if you're interacting with your customer on social media, if you're sending them push notifications, if you are sending them emails, you're doing website personalization, all of that data needs to be coming back to one central repository, your customer data platform, so that you can determine what's going to be that next best move. When I'm engaging with my customer, what is it that they want to hear from me? Where are they at within their journey? We want to avoid those mistakes that have been prevalent in some of the marketing technologies in the past, where you have that amazing email program that goes out and it converts your customer, which is the success that you wanted. But then on your display advertising team, you still have that program going out to the consumer where they're still receiving that advertisement for the exact same pair of shoes that they purchased in the past. So the CDP is looking to eliminate some of those issues that we've seen with some of the previous marketing technology solutions. One final call out here on this page is the difference between a CDP and a DMP. I think there's a lot of confusion around these two terms simply because of the time when they came into the market and really started to gain a lot of prevalence. So a customer data platform is all about gathering up the first-party known data about your consumer and being able to ingest that from whatever tool it's coming from, maybe pairing that out to behavior data of your users when they become known on the website, and then making that actionable by using it within other tools or to gain insights on your consumers. So that's a customer data platform. A data management platform, a DMP, is focused more on first and third-party anonymous data. So looking specifically at web behavior of a user, what a user is doing in a mobile app, how they're engaging with your e-commerce store, and then using that data for web advertising or maybe web optimization, paid search, or social media campaigns. So a DMP is typically going to be linked up with either one or multiple DSPs and ad networks so that you can do paid media campaigns. So there's a big differentiator there between customer data platforms and data management platforms and just the type of data that you're looking at, first-party known versus first and third-party anonymous. But do understand that data from a data management platform can feed into a customer data platform. And just to further explain that, a data management platform in understanding a user's unknown behaviors, so that anonymous user that's browsing on your website, there are opportunities for a data management platform to make that user known. Maybe that's a user logging in and completing a purchase, where we're able to say, I know for a fact who that person was on my website. And at that point, that DMP data can be shared with a customer data platform. So although these two tools are separate, they can be analogous, and the DMP can feed data into a customer data platform. So I'm not just going to let Mapp give a definition to a customer data platform. So I also have called out here what the industry analysts are saying about customer data platforms. So Forrester and Gartner here. And I want you to notice that both Forrester and Gartner are focusing on, once again, the data and the CDP being owned and operated by marketers. So they really are, once again, putting that onus on the marketers to be able to enable themselves within the customer data platform. And then the second piece that they are each focusing on here is that CDPs connect and activate first-party data. So going back to that last slide on the differentiation between a CDP and a DMP, it's about connecting and activating that first-party data. Now, in the Forrester definition here, they give out 4 distinct solutions that a CDP can represent. The first is that a CDP is a pipe for distributing data. And in thinking about the 4 different solutions that Forrester is talking about here, understand that in the current CDP marketplace, there are companies that do an array of these 4 different solutions. Some solve for one of these items, like just being able to distribute data. And those are companies in the market that are positioning themselves as a CDP, but are acting more to integrate with as many tools as they can simply through an advanced API layer. So they are there to segment that data and then send it on to the next area in the pipe. So that is just one of the solutions that a CDP can represent. A second would be insight systems that support attribution and targeting. So being able to understand where your consumer is in the journey and then being able to execute on that. Next is engagement systems that support basic personalization. So you do see companies in the market that are focused just on that piece, where they are more geared towards personalization and understanding where the customer is in the journey, and then making sure that the communication that's sent at that step in the journey is personalized to that customer's step. And then the last would be a cross-channel campaign management tool. And so this is focusing very heavily on the very end, in my opinion, of the customer data platform's use, which is on execution and less on the ingestion side. So that's where Forrester is focusing on the distinct solutions that a CDP can represent. And just understand that there are companies that do all 4 of these items, and some that just do a handful, and others that are just doing one of these items. Once again, here, Gartner is calling out as well the CDP versus DMP differentiation here. So do note that this is something that even the industry analysts are having to call out themselves and saying that these are not the same tools. And although they did come to market around the same time, they solve for 2 different use cases and can often be seen working together. So in the end, once you have a CDP up and running, the role of the CDP is really to collect data. So it is going to be ingesting data from all of your different customer touch points. And then beyond that, it is about pushing that data out to be able to execute on it. And then really there should be arrows going back into the CDP on any of these channels. So if I'm interacting with a user through an advertisement or through social media or an email, that data should be coming back into the CDP. So the CDP ends up really putting all of your customer data into one place. It's going to allow marketers to segment and gain insight on their customers, and that's going to allow them to execute on that data through an array of channels. And so if you think back to that first slide where we had all of this data disparately thrown about our customer, where they're engaging with us in many different ways, the end result that a CDP should give you is that single customer profile, where you have that 360-degree view of the customer. And I'm throwing 360-degree view out there. I know that's a definite buzzword, and one that was really called out in CMS Wire's CDP Tweet Jam, where they really wanted us to think about, can a CDP give you that complete customer view? And in my opinion is, a customer data platform is going to give you the most complete view that we can get to right now. So as there are more touch points that we can have with a company, a CDP is going to continue to add and add and add to those channels. So, the 360-degree view I think that a CDP is providing is the most complete view that we can provide right now, but there are still pieces of data out there that need to be captured. And as we're able to capture that data, I think that will continue to be fed into the customer data platform so that we can get that complete view of the customer. So in the end, you hopefully have been able to consolidate all your customer data into one place so you have that more complete view of the customer so that you can begin to execute on these more advanced customer journeys. Now, one of the other things I want to call out about the benefits of a customer data platform are the data regulations that have been coming about as of late. And very importantly called out here is the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe. And one thing that's important to understand here is that this doesn't just affect companies operating in the EU. It affects any company that is working with customers who happen to reside in the EU. And so everyone needs to be thinking about how the GDPR is going to affect you and your marketing. So one of the great benefits of using the CDP is how it actually allows for easier compliance towards GDPR. And this was another item that was called out in the CMS Wire Tweet Jam, in that a lot of marketers are trying to grapple with how a CDP is going to play a role in GDPR compliance. And so in some cases, CDP will actually allow you to have an easier time of being able to meet the standards and requirements of GDPR and any of the other data regulation rules that are coming into place. And I want to call out here the ways that Mapp is able to solve for GDPR, and that is that we give you a ability to see all of that customer interaction and all of that customer data in one place, in one view. So you can go to that customer profile of someone who has maybe asked you to take part in the right to be forgotten and have all of their marketing data and marketing history removed about their profile. And so with Mapp Digital, you're able to solve for that with the right to be forgotten, in which we'll go through and anonymize all of the data about that contact so that they are no longer represented in the customer data platform. And that customer view is also going to give you the ability to both see all of the data that you have on that consumer and also be able to export that data as well. So that's the data visibility and portability rules of GDPR, where you'd be able to export that data to provide to the customer. So in many cases, a customer data platform, in giving you that more holistic view of your customer, is going to make it easier to actually comply with the regulations of GDPR. So now that we've talked about the development of customer data platforms, the benefits of using a CDP, I want to take you through what would be maybe the ideal marketing scenario with a CDP. So through here, you'll see that there are quite a number of steps that a customer might be going through with you as they engage with you as a brand. And the brand that we're thinking about here is maybe a department store where they're selling an array of goods to the consumer. And the consumer might originally come to you searching for a particular item. And that's their first engagement point. maybe they're just browsing on the website. And that user's most likely not going to make that purchase. A majority of people coming onto the website are going to abandon any search for a product on the site. And so you'll see in the next step in the engage portion of that customer journey, that user might receive an email where we're able to capture some of the data about that user. And that potentially could allow us to figure out a little bit more information about that user, potentially based off of did that user engage with me in that channel? So knowing what channel is going to be appropriate for sending that next communication. Where can I find customer engagement with this user? And it could also tell you what they're interested in. So if they are looking at a particular item or clicking through on that email, that's going to allow you to tie to that unknown user and that previous browsing history about that user if you're using a customer data platform. So the user may engage with that email and continue to and you will continue to understand more and more about that consumer, but they still might not make that purchase. So the next step might be to that user could be online and perform just a web search where the CDP could be providing information to be able to serve up the best advertisement to be able to engage that user and pull them back to the website through paid search. Or maybe it's a display advertisement that they see while they're navigating somewhere else on the web that's going to bring them back to the website. But in using a CDP, you can make sure that that's personalized based off of the user's previous experience. And you'll see that this customer continues through the journey to the point where they download the mobile app of this company. And in getting the mobile app, they ultimately decide to make a purchase with the company. And that was likely due to the fact that the user had this personalized and consistent experience regardless of the channel that the user was engaging in. So maybe when they downloaded that app, maybe they didn't make a purchase on that first day, but after receiving a push notification with a next best offer to that user based off of their current step in the journey, where we've known that they've been engaging for quite a while and have expressed great interest in purchasing from us, we can go ahead and serve them up through a, say, push notification or an in-app message, a personalized offer that will hopefully get them to convert. And in converting, we want to make sure that we get to that next step, and that's represented in this slide. Where, you'll see called out in red there, suppression. And that's where we're trying to make sure that we don't continue to bombard that user with a communication that, we've already hit that success event. We had our goal of getting that user to convert, and now it's about nurturing that consumer and getting them to stay with us as a consumer. So that's where we move into a retain phase, where we are looking to get consumer advocacy. So instead of serving them up advertisements about the product that they just purchased, maybe we can give them a cross-sell opportunity or put them into a paid social campaign where we're serving up an advertisement to them that will hopefully engage them and get them to respond or share content with us on social media. So then they're not just a happy consumer, but they're also one that's advocating for us. And this is all made possible by using a customer data platform. A customer data platform is consolidating all of this data across these different platforms, whether you're gathering data based off of a user's email interaction, what they're telling you when they're filling out forms on a website, how they're engaging with you in their mobile app, and all of that data is brought to one place so that when you're communicating with them on each of these individual channels, you're making sure that that communication is consistent and is in line with that customer's current step in the journey. Now I want to ask everyone at this point, there's a few more slides that I'm going to go through to talk about some of our successes, some of our case studies with our customer data platform, but think about your customer's current journey and where they might benefit from having a CDP. So ask if you're able to do this right now with your current marketing. Are you able to see where that customer is within that journey and be able to ensure that that next communication is aligned and personalized to what that customer is doing with you? So this next case study that I want to talk about, where Mapp has found success with our consumers, is one that's coming from Unilever. And one of Unilever's brands is Flora, which is a brand that's long maintained themselves as being a brand for healthy consumers. And they're very focused on maintaining that brand image. And they wanted to start a program where they would be able to kind of support that brand image and get more consumers to stay with them and promote their image as a healthy consumer brand. So they worked with Mapp Digital to determine who those customers were within their current consumer base, who were healthy-minded individuals. And using our customer data platform, we were able to target more than 2.5 million profiles across the UK, and we were able to get 27,000 registrants in their Healthy Challenge, where those consumers were taking a 30-day program, and they were essentially advocating for Flora in that time frame. And this promotion was across email and website personalization, and it was used to garner these new advocates for their brand. So they already had a long-established image as a healthy brand, but now through this program, they were also able to create advocates for them across social media and across the web. The next case study I want to talk through is the L'Oreal case study, where L'Oreal, as a consumer products good, is not able to sell direct to their consumers. They're selling through stores or online. And for them, it's very much a challenge to understand where their customers are in the journey and who their customer profile is. So with Mapp's customer data platform, L'Oreal was able to figure out where customers were within their journey of purchasing L'Oreal based off of their online behaviors. And then they were able to map that to customer profiles to improve a contact strategy. So this was really all about using the customer data platform to understand that customer journey, understand the profiles of their consumers, and then make sure that as they're going through that interaction with L'Oreal as a brand, they were getting the right message at the right time. And for them, the most important result was a 4-week multi-step welcome program. And what this did was, as they were able to receive that consumer's opt-in, to receive communications from them in email, they were able to personalize that program based off of the user's previous engagement with them so that it matched their customer profile. And what this really did is it gave them their best non-transactional message open rate of almost 48% and a click-through rate of that message of almost 40%. So they were able to see their highest results ever for a marketing message that was sent to their consumers by leveraging data that they had in their customer data platform and then executing on that within the same tool. So now you understand a little bit about how Mapp has been able to help their consumers. I want to talk to you a bit about Mapp's cross-channel platform. So you'll see here that I have 3 different technology stacks lined up. The first is a marketing cloud, then a DMP, and a customer data platform. And all 3 of these align to equal the Mapp cloud. And what's at the core of this is the ability from the customer data platform to receive data from the marketing cloud and the data management platform, so that when you're going to execute and use that data across any of your marketing channels, you have that most holistic view of your customer. So in using Mapp's platform, you're able to get that 360-degree view of your consumer and then execute on that within the same tool. And I think that's one of the big things that we're going to see over the next few years in the development of more robust customer data platforms, and that's the ability to execute. And that's where Mapp is really ahead of the curve. Not only do we have this ability to gain that 360-degree view of their consumer, but we're also able to take that, and within the same tool, we're able to natively send out those communications across different marketing channels. And the last piece here, to give you an idea of the Mapp Cloud platform, we have 3 different pieces that really play into a virtuous cycle. We have Mapp Acquire, which is focusing on what your users are doing online. what is that typically unknown behavior data that I have on my consumers? And using that and feeding it into the engagement side of the tool where you're able to go out and communicate with these users on different channels. And then lastly, Mapp Intelligence, which is able to take information from both the engage and acquire tools to be able to gain insights on your consumers. And all three of these are feeding into the customer data platform, and that's really at the core, and it's what's enabling the ability for these pieces of technology to communicate with each other. So as you go and try to figure out who that consumer is, where they're at in the journey, and what should be my next communication with them, the customer data platform is really sitting there to give you that holistic view of your consumer. You'll see on the outside of this circle is Mapp Connect, and that's really where the customer data platform is pulling in other pieces of information, whether that be from a DSP about what advertisements were served up to a consumer, or from your e-commerce store as to what the consumer has purchased or what they may be interested in purchasing. All of that is feeding into the customer data platform, so you have that holistic view of your consumer. And that's really what the customer data platform is all about. It's about figuring out who your consumer is, how it is that they're engaging with you, and what's going to be the next best piece of information for you to share with them so that they stay engaged with you, stay as advocates, and continue to be some of your very valuable customers, or to help you go out and acquire new customers. So if they haven't yet made that purchase, where are they at within that journey so that you can make sure that that profile gets completed with a purchase. So at that point, I really want you to think about any questions that you have about customer data platforms. What is it from this conversation that is still gnawing at your mind? What is it that you still have that will help you to understand a customer data platform even better?
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Ben. We will be getting to your questions. Please feel free to submit any additional comments, feedback, questions that you have. We've already received fantastic ones so far. I do also want to let you know that there are other ways to connect if you want to continue this conversation offline. You can learn more at www.mapp.com, as well as at hello@mapp.com. If you have any questions, feel free also to tweet at Mapp_digital. And of course, if you want to continue the conversation with Ben directly, his email is available as well on the screen. So with that, I will go ahead and we'll officially get started with our questions. Okay, so this one is from Domenico, and the question is, I've heard that the test and control methods can be used with CDP. So what are your thoughts on that, Ben?
So Domenico, I'm trying to understand exactly what you're going for with this question, but I think what you're asking about is being able to perform that A/B testing with your consumers and maybe holding out of your consumers to make sure that you understand the lift from performing any of these campaigns. And that's certainly something that a customer data platform should be able to solve for. So being able to work with your consumer base to find a segment that you think would benefit from receiving the next communication, and then testing on that. So maybe giving 80% of your consumers that next best message and holding out on that 20% so that you can see what the difference is between those users who received the message and those who did not. So I think that that's definitely something that some customer data platforms can do. That's certainly something that can be done in the Mapp platform. But if that is something that's important to you, and I think it should be for appropriate testing, you should make sure to have that as part of your evaluation process when looking at CDP vendors.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for that detailed response. Ben, this one is from MJ, and the question is, does the technology connect directly with channels such as social channels, or do we hand feed the data from the individual platforms into the CDP?
Yep. And for that one, I would say it depends on the technology that you're integrating with. So social platforms, long notorious for really trying to hoard the data that they're collecting within that tool. So in some cases, that data has to be hand-fed, or there's a process that will have to be developed to receive that data from that said social channel. But in many cases, that customer data platform will be able to directly get data from the platform that you're looking to engage with the consumer in.
All right, great. And we have Lori here who's curious if you have used the platform with B2B products and services.
Yeah, so the B2B use case is definitely one that comes up. And it's one that I think a customer data platform can be positioned to help solve for. And the reason why is because a customer data platform is all about understanding that consumer and then where that consumer is in the journey. So giving that communication so that you can take them from considering, if they're going after a SaaS product, making that purchase ultimately, or maybe if they need to be in more of a nurture phase. Yes, I think a CDP can help in that regard. The one thing that I would make sure that you're calling out there is the CDP's ability to have both an individual layer and an account layer so that you can make sure that B2B communication is consistent across not just the individual, but across the account level as well.
All right, awesome. And we have Robin who would like some advice on CDP implementation, so from a marketer standpoint, to make sure that you are set up for success.
Yeah. So I think that the first thing I would give as advice in deciding to implement a CDP is making sure that you have your customer strategy in place before you go out and get a CDP. Make sure that you understand, what are those critical touch points for my consumers? Or maybe if you're not able to find that out with your current technology stack, maybe that's something that the CDP can assist with. So that can give you an item to include within your vendor evaluation. But making sure that you have that strategy in place so that you know what the benefits are going to be of acquiring that CDP. So if you're not able to right now appropriately interact with the consumer post-purchase, maybe the nurture is missing, or suppression is not something that you're able to do across all channels, that's something that the CDP can definitely assist with, but you have to make sure that you have that objective in mind before you go out and purchase the CDP. And then ultimately, after you've made that purchase, it's about making sure that every data source that you're bringing into the customer data platform is providing value, and that you understand the value that's going to be derived from bringing in that data source. So, you can start out with just bringing in a handful of data sources, but as you get more sophisticated with your strategy, you're going to want to bring in as much data as you can to get that full view of the consumer.
All right, great. Thank you so much. We have time for just a few more questions. So we have one from Sagar who is wondering if Mapp can be self-hosted. So in case companies do not want to push the data outside their data centers.
So in this case, Mapp is not able to be self-hosted. So we pride ourselves in our data centers and our stringent data policies. But yes, Mapp is always going to host the platform itself.
Okay, great. And then Leanne is wondering, as a marketer, is there a way to gain a certification in CDP use, whether or not an employee is using that? Is there a way to gain certification?
I am currently not aware of a CDP certification being provided to the market, but I'll definitely do some research on that and try to follow up with you to see if there is a way to have a CDP certification.
Okay, great. I also I'm going to give Ben a break and help him out here because we had several questions about the slides and if they're going to be available. And as a reminder, this webcast will be archived on ama.org/webcast for you to check out at your convenience. But the Mapp team will also make these slides available on SlideShare. So just to let all of you know, because we've received several questions about that. I think we have time for one more question, and this one is coming from Elise, and she is curious if CDP is just a current trend. Do you think it'll last, or do you think there's a phase 4 coming?
Yeah, so CDPs have been in the marketplace for years. And I don't see it as one that's going to go away. It's one that I think will certainly evolve. I think you'll see more and more CDPs add execution capabilities to their core capabilities. And I think that that's one place where Mapp is a little bit ahead of the game. We already have execution across many channels. And I see that definitely as the next evolution of customer data platforms, where not only are you able to take in and consume that data, find the right segment, but I think you'll also be able to natively execute on that data within the customer data platform.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you